Okay.
You're ready.
Oh, do you want me to hold it up?
Go ahead, yes.
Okay.
So, what did you learn about yourself in writing this book, in writing your memoir, Gone in a Heartbeat?
Well, the first thing I learned was extreme perseverance, because it took 15 years to write this. I was writing a journal all along while I was sick, and there was never an appropriate ending to the book before the transplant. And then the transplant happened. I thought, well, this is my wife kept saying, when are you going to finish the darn book already? I kept saying there's no good ending. And so the transplant occurred, and then I thought, okay, maybe this is the ending. But then I thought, no, I've got to get back out and show I'm doing something, back to my old way and doing something, I don't know, extraordinary. But so I decided I would run my first half marathon. And after that, I decided, okay, now I need to really finish this book. What did I learn? I learned that there's no easy way to write a book. I've written a lot of scientific articles published in journals, completely different style than writing. One of the things I learned is, for me, being somewhat neurotic, I could spend 3 weeks figuring out if it should be that or which. And so at some point you just have to start writing things down, realizing that somebody will edit it and change a lot of it. But you can't belabor whether you need a semicolon or a period or, So it was a frustrating, it was a very frustrating experience. And I was working full time, so it wasn't like I went to Maui to write a book and just, sat on the beach and wrote a book. I mean, I was developing cancer drugs, I was doing all sorts of things. So I would write this, 1 or 2 in the morning or on some of the weekends. It was a great, I wrote the book not expecting to be on the New York Times bestseller list, and I'm not, so my intuition came true. I thought in the very least this would be a cathartic, therapeutic exercise for me, really pouring into the book all the things that I felt would be healing for me, just to get it out. And hopefully for people, whoever read this book, that the words would hit them at a very visceral level. So people told me all sorts of things. Neil, you need to write the ABCs of Lyme disease. Do not write a book, a personal memoir. Write about the different tests, give the pros and cons of the different tests, the antibiotics, really sort of an encyclopedia from a scientific perspective as somebody who's been in science for 25 years. I didn't want to write that. I mean, that did not interest me in the least. And so I wrote the book. The book is a very personal labor of love, and it was really written to hit the reader in a like I said, a very visceral, personal level. I thought if someone didn't shed one tear reading this book, then I didn't do justice to my story, or at least make somebody pause for a moment and think, wow, how did the person survive that experience? And that was really the message that I wanted to have the reader come through, which is you can overcome anything. And it doesn't have to be Lyme. It could be any adversity that you think is insurmountable. You can do it. And it's not always easy. And we all have inner strength. People say to me, I don't think I could have done what you did. And I say, yeah, of course you could. Well, you have 2 choices. You could either not live or you could live. And I tell people, it's remarkable how much strength we have when we're faced with these sorts of challenges. So it's not me. I'm not some superhuman being. It happened. You have the power to do this. So that's the other part of this. I mean, the being an advocate. I mean, those are I think clear messages. But I think empowering people, empowering them to realize that everyday people overcome lots of challenges. And I talk about patients whose lessons were incredibly important in my life. They weren't some superhero. They weren't people that, you know, were the royalty in London, or, you know, they were people who were people with families, went to work every day, you know, 9 to 5, who faced with cancer just dug deep, and the strength that I witnessed was incredible. So we all have that inner strength, and when you need it, it's there.
That's beautiful. Is there anything you would like to share from your book? Any reading or any poetry or any part that you would like to share? I know you've been talking a lot and you might need a glass of water.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to read a poem.
You want to read a poem?
So, you know, it's funny, while I search for the poem, which may take a minute or two, I wrote a lot of poetry while I was sick during all those years. And